Hello and welcome to the Creation Kit scripting series Papyrus Tutorials. This is the 14th part of the Events and Functions series, and we are going to talk about using arrays as opposed to just the concept of an array. So, how do you create a new array? Well, you start off with the type, integer, float, etc. Then you put square brackets. Don't put any numbers or anything in between the brackets, just specify the brackets. And then you give it an array name, let's say my actors, my players, important values, etc., etc. And then you equal it to new to denote, oh hey, I'm creating a new one. And then the type of your array, like int, float, etc. And then you give it an array size anywhere from 1 to 128. So let's go and look at these examples real quick. Just a few random ones I came up with. Fibonacci numbers, we set that to equal a size of 128. That way you can store Fibonacci values. A tic-tac-toe board, I called tic-tac board, and we give it 9 spots because there's 3 rows of 3, making it 9 spaces in total. Then active companions, in case if you wanted to make some special companion functionality. That's how you would specify an array of companions. So, finding out how big the array is important for if you're using an array that's not something that you've defined. Let's just look at tic-tac-toe one as an example that we gave a size of 9. So we call dot length on the array, and it will return the size of the array, 9. So whenever you have an array, use dot length to find out how big it is. So accessing the array, we're going to use tic-tac board again. The first element you access by tic-tac board, and then brackets. Within the bracket, you give it a number. For the very first one, it's 0. And hypothetically speaking, this will be the logical top left corner of a tic-tac-toe board. Just speaking at it from the game board logic side of it. And then to access the very last spot on the board, you would say 8, which makes that size 9. If you try to access tic-tac board at 9, it will throw an error because you're going outside of the size limits excuse me, of the tic-tac board. So here's an example of use for it. So we already listed what the logical top left corner and logical bottom right corner would be. So if we wanted to access the left corner status, we just assign it to an integer and have it equal to the tic-tac board at 0. So changing or inserting values, you have to use the equal sign at all times. Let's look at tic-tac board again. So at the 0th element, let's say all the values are 0 if it hasn't been used yet. It's 1 when there's an X, and it's 2 when it's an O. So at tic-tac board 0, we set it to 1, which means an X has been inserted. So unfortunately, you can't use plus equals or anything like that with arrays because it doesn't know what the heck it's doing there. You can only assign values and retrieve values from an array, so you must use equals at all times. It can't translate the array like that. You could take the value from the array and add it to 1 on the right hand side, but you can't use plus equals. So what I suggest whenever you create your array is to initialize all of your elements to the default value that you're not going to use in the future, or just a default value to be like, oh hey, everything's empty or something like that. I don't know if Papyrus necessarily needs it, but it's good practice just so everything's initialized. So tic-tac board, we have that as type integer. For each element from 0 to 8, we'll go through and assign it 0. You can see where while loops will be needed for that, hopefully, since we'll be iterating through, going next step you need to assign a 0, next step, so on and so forth. So let's test out just creating arrays and using arrays. So, oh, I didn't load the creation kit. How silly of me. So I created a new cell that we'll see in a moment, and I gave it a script called using array script. So before we get that loaded up, let's just do our message boxes, and we'll be using several message boxes just to go through. Let's create an array. So int let's go, well, let's not do that. Let's just do our tic-tac board array. So we have it as temp type int that, and then we have it equal to new tic-tac board of size. Can't be a tic-tac board, it has to be an int. Because tic-tac's not an object or anything like that. So, something that I didn't note, you can have it as a script. You have an array of certain script. But we'll go into that in a different episode in more detail. So, I called it array functions for the cell that we'll be using. Another logic barrel. There's the script there. Okay. So, int a molt 0 to 10 equals new int, and we're going to have that as size 11. So we want to tic-tac board, or yeah, we want to do tic-tac board, and then we're going to have it equal to initialize array tic-tac board, and then tic-tac board dot length. And same thing with molt 0 to 10. We're going to initialize array tic-tac board, comma. No, we don't want tic-tac board. We want a molt 0 to 10, comma, molt 0 to 10 dot, and then we want length again. And then we want to call for multiple of 0 to 10 equals function molt 0 to 10, and then we give it molt 0 to 10 and the array length. And then we'll display a few of the values from those. So for the initialize function, we have the initial array and we have the array length. The purpose of this function will be to return an initialized. You know, we're not going to do this. I'm going to wait off till another episode to show array return types. So, we're going to use while blocks instead. So while, let's get a few values here. Tick tack length equals tick tack board dot length, and we have int mult 0 to 10. This is going to equal mult 0 to 10 of dot length. So we also want to call this length nut. So while tick tack length is not less than 1, let's say, no, let's do 0. And this is going to be the initialize tick tack length block. So we're going to do tick tack we can't do subtraction of the indices within the assignment, so we're going to have to do tick tack length minus equals 1, and we're going to do tick tack board at tick tack length, and we're going to have that equal to 0, just because we're initializing it, and it will keep going through this loop until it hits a case where and we want to do it like that just so it doesn't do it for the 0th value, because any value that's below 0 will also throw the array in error. So let's also initialize our mult 0 to 10 while our mult 0 to 10 length less than 1 again. We want to reduce the length, and we want to take the original and we want to have that equal to 0. So I'm going to delete this message box just for organization's sake. To test initialization. So we want to write in here tick tack initialization of top left corner equals, then we want to concat that with tick tack board at 0. Mult 0 to 10 midsection equals, we want to say init equals, just so we know what it says at the very end, and then we want to concat that to molt 0 to 10 of 4. That's going to be, actually, alright, so we have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep, 4 is going to be the middle on that. Okay. So, do operations on tic-tac board. So debug. So what we want to do here is create a winning set just to show you, oh hey, this is a winning set. Board at 0 equals 1. Tic-tac board at 1 equals 1. Tic-tac board at 2 equals 2. No, we want that to equal 1. If tic-tac board at 0 equal to 1 and tic-tac board at 1 is equal to 1 and tic-tac board at 2 is equal to 1. It's in the parentheses on that. Let's say we are checking to see if X won the top row. And then what we want to do in this case is say debug.messageBox X filled top row, X wins. That's it for the testing we're going to do on that array. Now let's do molt 0 to 10 loop. So while, and we want to set molt 0 to 10 length equal to molt 0 to 10 dot length, and we want to do the same check that we did up above, less than 1, and we want to end while. So what we want to do is molt 0 to 10 length minus equals 1, and then what we want to do is molt 0 to 10 at molt 0 to 10 length, and have that equal to molt 0 to 10 length times 1. And then after each, we want to display a message box that says value of molt 0 to 10 at index, and then we want to add on molt 0 to 10 length is the following value, and then we want to add on our molt 0 to 10 at molt 0 to 10 length. And that should be it for our array. Let's go array testing that we're going to do. So let's go back to the script. Let's save this. And I misspelled at line 41 length. Yep. Let's get rid of that. Let's edit the source again. Save. This guy should save. And we should see everybody in a moment to test these out. Alright, we should be in game in a moment to see all the tests that we run on. Alright, so the initialization, top left corner, 0. Our molt, 0 to 10. Midsection at 0. Alright, it's going to start us off with molt at index 10, is 10. Index at 8 is 8. 6, 4, 2, 0, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. Okay. Now, exfil the top row, sort of X wins. And that, everything works properly. That is it for the testing portion. We'll see everybody in a moment. And that is it for this episode of how to use arrays. If you have any questions about the content covered, feel free to message me on the Nexus or on YouTube. I will have this information in the description as well as helpful links. A little pop-up at the bottom should tell you about that if I don't say that in video. Also, if you have any questions about past content, future content, or scripting questions in general, feel free to message me on the Nexus or on YouTube. I'm more likely to see the Nexus ones because I get email notifications. And I will see everybody on the next episode.